It is my firm belief, based on fact, that the Vedic wisdom is bringing a modern renaissance that has already begun. In my talk today, I will be considering the Vedic wisdom in the light of modern science, through the lens of modern science. And I will conclude that the Vedic wisdom, the Vedic tradition, is founded upon the complete knowledge and the practical application of the ultimate reality, which we call the unified field in the language of modern science. And that in the light of science, the Vedic wisdom is immensely practical, it is overwhelmingly proven, and absolutely indispensable in this modern age. The first part of my talk concerns the Vedic science of health, Ayurvedic medicine, and it is surprising for me to say, yet absolutely true, that ancient Ayurvedic medicine is in fact ultra-modern, cutting-edge, unified field-based medicine. And I need to explain what I mean by that. And this will take just a few minutes. In the last 15 years, we have seen remarkable discoveries in the world of astronomy, in the field of astrophysics, in the area of cosmology. But the most exciting discoveries, the most important discoveries of modern science have not been about outer space. They have been about inner space. So not outer space, but inner space. And by inner space, I mean not looking out to the vast distance of the universe, but looking within to begin to explore smaller and smaller levels of reality, inner reality, from the outward macroscopic world of sensory objects to the inner worlds of the atom and the nucleus and so forth. This whole exploration of nature that began to explore deeper and deeper levels of reality began hundreds of years ago with Newton and what he called classical physics, brick and mortar physics. But in the 20th century, we discovered the atom, and we discovered that the atom requires a whole new logic, a whole new language, a whole new mathematics that is called quantum mechanics. That these smaller worlds are not just smaller, but they're fundamentally different. And smaller than the atom is the atomic nucleus, 1,000,000 times smaller, and it is governed again by a whole new language, a whole new logic, a whole new mathematics. The mathematics of what's called quantum field theory. And finally, Einstein led the way to the exploration of the fundamental reality called the unified field, the fundamental unity at the basis of all the diversity of the universe. And these successful theories have discovered the fundamental unity of life, the fundamental unity of humanity at the foundation of the universe, at the level we could call Atma, at the level we could call universal intelligence, universal consciousness, or Brahm. And these successful scientific theories have a specific mathematical structure called string theory, but basically they describe an ocean of absolute silence, a sea of immortality, of pure existence, pure being, pure intelligence, absolutely silent at its core, like an ocean becomes silent at the deepest levels of the ocean. But on the surface of this ocean of pure being, pure existence, we see dynamism, activity, energy, incredible dynamism on the surface of the ocean, and the ocean is erupting continuously like ginger ale effervesces bubbles. And these bubbles aren't ginger ale, actually, but they have the form of what are called superstrings, elastic loops. It's a very surprising thing to say, but this ocean of pure existence, pure being, pure intelligence percolates as if tiny rubber bands. That's what the mathematics requires. And these rubber bands vibrate, like all rubber bands vibrate. And these rubber bands that emerge from the unified field can vibrate in many different ways. And each of these vibrational possibilities have a different amount of vibrational energy. Some very low, some very dynamic. And according to Einstein, these different levels of energy of these vibrating strings correspond to different masses. According to Einstein's formula, E, energy, equals m mass times the speed of light squared. So 50 years ago, we thought that the universe was made of particles and forces. Modern science, the full fundamental forces of nature like gravity and electromagnetism, and then the particles on which they act, the electron and the proton and the neutron and the quarks. But today we actually see that these particles emerging from the unified field to structure the whole universe are not particles at all, but vibrating strings. These rubber bands percolate from the unified field, and according to their level of vibration, they have the mass that corresponds to an electron, or a proton, or a neutron. So the whole universe of particles are really just vibrating strings. And vibrating strings are just vibrations of the unified field, like ripples on the surface of the ocean of pure being. That everything in the universe are just ripples on the surface of the ocean of pure being. Vrittis of Atma, fluctuations of consciousness. So here we see it, the fundamental particles that make up the universe are just the vibrations of the unified field. And it's not just the particles, the whole universe comes from there. Because everything is made of these particles. I, you, this, everything. So the whole universe is really just the vibrations of the unified field. So that's almost the end of the physics before I bring it back home. But I'm going to introduce one simple concept to make the rest easy. That was already easy, yeah? No. So there's something we call spin. Fundamental particles are always spinning. But different particles spin at different speeds. So if we organize all the fundamental forces of nature and the fundamental particles according to their spin, if we resort this picture according to spin, what we see, we can now list all the elementary particles of nature according to spin. There's the graviton, responsible for the force of gravity. That's a spin 2 particle. And there's another particle called the gravitino. And there's electromagnetism, the photon of electromagnetism, spin 1. And there are electrons and protons and neutrinos which have spin 1/2, and the newly discovered Higgs boson which has spin 0. This is the absolute latest knowledge about the fundamental constituents of the universe. The whole universe is made of these five spin types. And it goes a little deeper than that, actually, because these 5 fundamental elements of physics emerge from a more fundamental 3 more holistic entities. We call them superfields in physics. But these three give rise to this separate emergence of the five. And remember, all of these are just vibrations of the unified field. For example, gravity and everything that comes from gravity are clockwise vibrations of superstrings. Electromagnetism and everything that comes from the electromagnetism are counterclockwise vibrations of strings. And everything you had for breakfast, everything in your body, made of particles like electrons and protons and neutrons, all come from a different type of vibration of string. So the whole thing is just vibrations of the unified field. Now this is, finally, these details are not important. This is what is important. These five spin types of physics, which make up the known universe, these are the five Mahabhutas, the Pancha Mahabhutas, the fundamental elements of Vedic science, of Ayurveda, of Charak Samhita. So thousands and thousands of years ago, the Vedic sages and rishis understood intimately these core realities of the universe, these five fundamental elements. We call them, in the Vedic literature of Ayurveda, Akasha, Vayu, Tejas, Apas, Prithvi. But those five fundamental elements that are the basic of Ayurvedic medicine can be shown to be literally identical to these five spin types that modern science has finally concluded after thousands of years to be the fundamental building blocks of creation, and so forth. So it's astonishing to say, as a modern physicist, that through the development of the mind alone, that before the existence of particle accelerators and modern mathematics, through the development of mind, through the development of consciousness, the rishis and the sages and the great Vaidhas of old knew about these five elements and structured a very powerful science of health based on this. And it goes one step deeper, because these three superfields, these more holistic entities, at the basis of these five spin types, these three most fundamental ingredients of the universe are the same as what Ayurveda calls the three doshas, or three prakritis. So, whereas modern science talks about five elements from the graviton on down, and discovers that there is a pairing or grouping of these five elements into three more holistic entities called superfields, Ayurvedic medicine has the same five elements with the same three groupings to understand what are called the prakritis or the doshas. And Ayurvedic medicine uses this language to understand the human body and human health. And this is amazing. What's amazing about it is that Ayurvedic medicine, as ancient as it is so incredibly deep and powerful and profound. It is an understanding of the human body at the very deepest level of the material universe. As the universe emerges from the unified field in these fundamental three ingredients, that is the home of Ayurvedic medicine. So if you compare this to modern medicine, what is modern medicine? Modern medicine is basically chemical medicine, pharmacological medicine. It has to do with the atomic or chemical structure of the human body, which is already quite powerful, but complicated and prone to side effects. If you try to heal the body on the level of the chemistry of the body, You're dealing with a complicated science. There are tens of thousands of molecules in the human body. It is very easy to make a mistake. It is very easy to create an imbalance. The side effects are numerous. In contrast, Vedic medicine or Ayurvedic medicine takes place at a much, much deeper level. The level of the three Prakritis, millions of times deeper than modern medicine, and therefore more powerful, more holistic, and free of negative side effects. And finally, to be truthful, as amazing, a medical doctor, modern medical doctor, will find this difficult to admit, difficult to understand, but it is absolutely true. The whole structure of Vedic medicine is far more profound and advanced and powerful and holistic than modern medicine. And to be completely honest, Ayurvedic medicine is deeper still, because in truth, Ayurvedic medicine extends all the way to the unified field, because Ayurvedic medicine includes yoga. It includes yoga. Yoga is a branch, a part of Ayurvedic medicine. And yoga is a technique to take the human awareness, to take the human mind to the level of Atma, the unified field. So truthfully, Ayurvedic medicine is unified field-based medicine, Atma-based medicine.